Hi, YouTube. How's it going? Waba here. Everyone say hi, YouTube. Waba here with EmberTalks. If you're watching this later, you're not going to hear the music that we have playing because splitting your audio is Pog Champion.
Exactly.
So welcome in. It's a very special Mental Health Thursday. If you do not see this video later, it's because the recording corrupted because there's power things happening with storms and the shit. So yeah. So maybe you're seeing this and watching this later, and maybe you're not. Maybe you'll never see this again. And if you're watching it live, maybe this might be the last time that you see this again. Until me and Ember reschedule, because I'm fucking fed up.
Yeah. This has been in the planning for a little bit, I think.
Yes.
We've
and
talked
I feel
about
bad
it for a while. No, it's all good. It's all good. I think this is actually the perfect timing for this to happen.
It all worked out.
I feel like over time I've been like hitting a lot of, what's it called when you like, it's like a breakthrough.
Milestones. Sure.
Yeah, I've been hitting a lot of like breakthroughs, and I've been making a lot of progress, and I feel like I've finally been like starting to crack at some stuff that's been like kind of affecting me my whole life, actually. Like,
well, shit.
Yeah.
That's pretty impactful, I'd say.
Yeah, honestly, it's been kind of strange. I'm starting to feel normal almost.
Who are you? That's also great to hear, honestly. Stability is amazing.
Yeah, oh my god, yeah. Like 100%. Granted, part of those issues were, just money problems and like poverty and like, I don't know. I feel like this isn't talked about enough, but I feel like like dealing with issues of money is like such a big like mental health drain as well. Like,
hello there.
And like I don't really see this conversation a lot.
Oh, like, absolutely. I mean, systemic poverty just affects so many things. Like, if you're poor, congratulations, you can't access healthcare, and God forbid you need to access healthcare, and Medicaid doesn't cover it. Well, too bad, you're dead. And plus, you're just super stressed out, and being stressed affects everything else health-wise. So guess what? You're gonna have health complications because, like, you say, oh, just don't get sick, Kappa. That's not how it fucking works.
No, it was just, yeah. So like there were a part of it was money problems, but also like I had other issues too, like in regards to like my self-esteem and as well as trust issues with other people and like other people I've met.
Absolutely.
And just like, making friendships and stuff.
So these are all things to come and all things to talk about. But first, introduce yourself. Yeah. Who the flip are you?
Yeah, so my name, so I'm EmberTalks. You can also call me Ember. I usually just call myself Ember. And basically what my Twitch channel is I'm a fighting game streamer, and soon to be competitor. I do a lot of YouTube videos about fighting game mindset, beginner tips, stuff like that. I've been focusing a lot on Guilty Gear. I've been just going full hog on it. Love it. Been having a great time with it. So I do a lot of like fighting game content. I also do some like interviews with other people every once in a while. Sometimes it'll be with other people in the FGC. Sometimes it'll be people out of the FGC. But that's essentially what I do. I'm very focused on fighting games and talking about fighting games and like the mindset stuff that's like involved with it.
Absolutely.
Basically, yeah.
Sounds awesome. That sounds like it has elements of mental health within it, because oftentimes I see like the stereotype of like, the sweaty gamers who are like, must press all the buttons and.
Yeah. Well, it's like the thing with something like that. It's that like to get good at a game, especially fighting games, like what the type of genre it is, it takes a lot of like mental discipline.
Absolutely.
Like it takes a lot of mental discipline. And you also have to kind of choke out your ego, like you can't let your ego stand. So it's one of those like gaming genres that like you actually have to like set your ego aside. You actually have to like be very mindful how you approach your training and how you approach how you practice your sets and everything. And it's a lot of like self-reflection, a lot of self-analysis. And honestly, I think it's like really fucking cool. Like
Hell
I
yeah.
love learning discipline, and I feel like it's by extension kind of helped my mental health a bit.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
It's amazing. Hell yeah.
Yeah.
So shit, where do we even start? Like,
Yeah,
first
I
of
was
all,
gonna say
what is the premise of our talk today? Maybe we should define that a little bit.
yeah, so I mean, I guess like this whole thing, I guess, has been sort of like almost like this feels almost like closure to me almost,
Okay.
because I've been having a really rough few years. And
Yeah.
I've dealt with, I mean, I guess to start with, I kind of, you know, when I graduated college, first thing I did is I moved in on my own and started my transition,
Right.
because I was really scared about how my family would react to that sort of thing. Um, so I like basically moved out on my own and started hormones like straight after college, like not really having a plan, not really like having like I did have money saved up for my internship, and I had a decent amount, but I ended up spending it all when I moved in with my boyfriend later on. But it was a rough time, because coming out to family, it's awkward and uncomfortable, and then after that, like you hit all these like weird social barriers with transitioning, and you kind of have your own little struggles with it too. You're because you're trying to also like reconcile with your past, living as a different gender, and like trying to accept that past, and then
Mm.
also like moving forward into the future. Like it's kind of like accepting how things were, and then
Yeah.
like moving forward um
I was gonna.
to yeah,
I was
because it's like I
gonna.
felt like I
Mhm.
mourned a lot of things transitioning.
Oh yeah. Ooh, that's an interesting topic actually. Because I was gonna ask like, what kind of things did you have to like process for yourself, for your past self?
Yeah, I mean, so basically it's like I had a hard time, like for me the big thing was like fucking like high school and childhood, right? Like
Yeah.
I always like the back of my mind, and it really killed me for a while, is I always wished I could experience those years again,
Hmm.
as a
As a
girl,
girl,
you
right?
know, like cuz
Like you
that's
lost out on that childhood.
yeah, it felt like a lost memory.
Hmm.
It felt like almost, and it was weird. Like for a while, it felt like those memories I had of my childhood just were not my own. They were like almost
Mm.
like someone else's.
Like completely
Like
just dissociated from it.
yeah, yeah. Like I felt that way about it for a while. And it took a long while to reconcile with it. But like while I was processing that, I I thought, well, let me try and seek out experiences,
Uh-huh.
because it's like, so like a lot of things I wanted to experience, I could still experience in some way, right? So like I would
Absolutely.
go out and seek experiences and stuff. And then like there was also an aspect where I had I there's also an aspect of my transition where I started questioning my sexuality, and
Hmm.
like
Mm-hmm.
I I realized I was also attracted to women.
Mm-hmm.
Um and I just kind of like kept it repressed all my life, and I kind of had a phase with that.
Wait,
And
did you have the evolution of I'm just a gay man to oh shit, no wait, I'm a trans woman to oh wait, shit, I'm a bi trans woman.
yeah, yeah, it was very rough, because I just felt
Yeah.
like I was like coming out like a million times, and I'm like, I'm just done with this shit. Like, and for a
Ironically
while,
that experience is actually quite common.
yeah.
you
Well,
know?
I think, well, the
And it
thing
doesn't
is,
make you fake or phony. It's just that's just how discovery kind of works about identity?
yeah, it's like the thing is that something a lot of people don't take into account when it comes to like figuring out your sexuality
Hmm.
is that like part of that also like I feel like sexuality and gender are connected. So
Absolutely.
it's like having a relationship with another woman as a woman is different than like a relationship with a man and a woman. Is that like, would you say that's correct, or like am I being a little too I'm not sure if this is too on the nose, but
I mean, I'd say that
that's
that's accurate. I mean,
yeah, yeah, it's
it
like
changes
feminine,
it can change
yeah,
the dynamics can change, and also just how that relationship is seen by other people can then change how the relationship acts.
yeah,
Although a lot of
exactly,
a lot of queer and gay relationships can mirror you know archetypes of heterosexual relationships all the same. It's
yeah,
still queer.
yeah. But that's essentially kind of the perspective I gained through transition. It's
Hmm.
like, oh, I never wanted like there were I remember having women like growing up that I was attracted to, but I just never wanted to act on it because I hated the idea of being put into such a masculine role of being the man in the relationship. And I think that's why
Mm.
like I always preferred dating men and like dating other men, because like it was like funny like growing up, like whenever I was in a relationship with a guy, it was like when people would joke like, oh, like who's the man relation, who's the woman relationship, and I would just be like, yeah, like I'm totally the woman in the
Mm.
relationship, and it's like it's like
And then
I like
discovering that's kind of a toxic thing to say.
yeah, well, not just that, but it was just like, it's like I embraced that role because
Sure.
I wanted to be a woman.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Like,
In a way, it's like kind of affirming, but also it's
yeah,
kind of like internalized sexisms.
absolutely, 100%.
Yeah,
But that's how, I guess that's how some people figure out those
for
things.
sure.
Um, like, and I know, like when it comes to it's just gender identity is complicated, I guess, and
S-
when sexuality ties into it, it becomes a whole other beast.
Absolutely. And
But
I think, it's funny actually. We actually got a question recently on the Words of Wisdom Google Doc that I've been thinking about.
mhm,
Um, I'll save it for then, but basically, it was kind of like, does my sexuality change because my partner is changing? And it's just like you can define your sexuality however you want to. It can be separate from, the gender of your partner if you wish it to be,
mhm,
You're not obligated to identify with one sexuality because you like this, that, or the other thing. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like your identity can
absolutely,
be your identity. It
yeah,
doesn't have to change.
oh yeah, for sure. Um, but anyways, going into to basically like make a long story short, I
Hmm.
questioned my sexuality for a while, and it was like when it came to women, it was like I never really wanted to like have sex with another woman. I more
Right.
so wanted to have like, I guess, a sort of like a really close like uh maybe like platonic romantic kind of thing.
Sure.
And so like I remember like I talked to my boyfriend about it,
Hmm.
and like he was okay with me like doing certain things,
Hmm.
like he's like, yeah, if you want to cuddle with another woman, like you're absolutely free to do that.
Hmm.
And I I was like, oh, that's honestly that's like kind of all I really need. Like it's like okay,
Right.
just like have a girlfriend to cuddle. Like that sounds
He.
like really wholesome, and like it was a really wholesome and cute idea to me.
It
And
is.
I and it's just like I really what I really wanted was female companionship. Like I just
Mm.
wanted like I wanted that like fucking like ride or die female bestie that
Got you.
like that we would just like always be there for each other. We would just have like this close bond, and like
Hmm.
and like so close to the point where like people would think we're dating but we're actually not, like that shit, like
Oh,
just having
jeez. Hell yeah.
yeah, yeah, like just we just know each other in and out,
Hell yeah. That's
and
awesome.
like that was something I really wanted for a long time. And
Hmm.
I when I started when I started making friends with other girls, most of the time it was like online and stuff like that. And I found there was a girl I ended up being friends with, who was a friend of a friend's, from my college.
Right.
And she was an artist, and we got very close to each other.
It's awesome.
Like we ended up just being like really close friends, and we hung out to the point where like we hung out like every single day with each other. We spent like we had movie nights, we did like stuff like that, like we'd have a movie on the Discord and like chill and stuff like that, and it was really nice. But it after a while, I don't I think when the dynamic started shifting towards like a romantic direction, and she
Mm-hmm.
realized I had a crush on her, there like a power dynamic started to form out of it. And
Okay.
after a while, it was like we met at IRL a couple times, and
Right.
it was
Right.
like and it was like basically what after like we started meeting IRL was when like I really noticed things were getting toxic.
Ooh.
Cause like
Hmm.
well, it's like cause at the time, like my business was starting to do really good, and
Right.
she knew I had money, and
Which
like,
business is this?
well, I like basically like buy and resell used like
Right.
video game consoles, video games, stuff like that.
Oh,
Like
okay. Cool.
I run an online video game store,
Right. Right. Right.
and so like she knew I had money,
Sure.
and so whenever I'd come over, uh like there'll be a lot of times we'll go shopping together, and like she'll
Hmm.
say stuff, she'll like, oh, I really want this, but I just can't afford it, and it would be like at
Hmm.
almost every single store we go to, and like she'll like look at me and kind of give me this cute look, and I'm like,
Uh.
there was a couple times I caved in,
Sure.
and I I don't know, I didn't feel good about it.
No, I wouldn't feel good about that either. That's so weird.
Yeah, but it
That's
was
so
just
not
like,
cool.
yeah, it was really manipulative, and it was like, and like when she realized, like after I told her, after I told her I had a crush on her, she started like kind of doing this like hot and cold thing with me, where like some days she would be
Oh no.
super affectionate with me, and then other
Oh,
days she would just be really
where's my
cold and
chart?
distant.
Where's my
And
chart? Where is it? Is that my chart? No.
what chart?
I'm finding my
Let's get their
chart.
chart.
I found it. I found my chart. Getting the chart. Tapping the
Just
chart.
Okay.
Tapping the chart. This is a cycle of abuse. Playing hot and cold, playing mind games.
Yeah. And like there'll be a lot of times where like she would also kind of she would have these like depressive spells, and she would kind of like fish me for compliments. So like there would be a lot of times like she'll just tell me she's depressed, and she just wouldn't feel better unless I like showered her with compliments, or I like bought her some food over DoorDash or something like that. Like, but basically it's just the dynamic got really weird, because it was like she always like kind of threw in this like thing where she was just like, yeah, like, I because like when I told her about my feelings, she was like, oh, I don't know, like if that's something I might feel too or whatever. And I wasn't sure like if I wanted like polyamory or something at that time, so I was like figuring stuff out, and it like made me really confused, because basically like she would always be like, oh, like I don't know if I'm like, you know I might have like romantic feelings for you too. And it was
Right.
like a really, and of course like I talked to my boyfriend openly about these things, like as they happened.
Absolutely.
And it was a hard time for our relationship. And we had to seek relationship counseling, but
Yeah. Wow.
that's a whole other thing.
Mm-hmm.
And essentially it was like, if I wasn't spending like all my time with her, she would
Mm-hmm.
get very cold with me.
Right.
Like she acted kind of possessive.
Yeah.
Like if I wasn't
Like you owe
spending,
her.
yeah, like if I wasn't spending all my time with her, she kind of would just like treat me like, I don't know, what's the term? Like
Trash.
I'm not, yeah, like I'm not important, like cold. Like she would withhold the affection, or
Mm.
at least I would notice she would.
Yeah. This is called intermittent reinforcement.
And what is that?
It's literally what it sounds like, intermittent reinforcement, like they're reinforcing certain behaviors
Hmm.
and then pulling away when you don't give them what you want. It's an abuse
Yeah,
tactic 101.
yeah, and so it was like, yeah, it was like between all that stuff, and then like it's sort of like, it sort of came at its peak because I ended up spending freaking Valentine's Day with her last year, and like we
Oh,
cuddled and watched
jeez.
movies, and it was like we cuddled and and watched movies the first night, and then the second night she just like she just like kind of, she acted like she was repulsed by me, and it made me like feel like shit. And I don't know, like I kept asking her if anything was wrong, and she would keep telling me like, "Oh, nothing was wrong," and I'm like, "Okay." And it was just like the
Hmm.
rest of the stay, I just like felt really depressed. Like I just felt like I didn't even want to be there. I felt like she didn't want me to be there. Like, and I even talked to her afterwards about it, and it wasn't anything I did that made her uncomfortable, apparently. Um, but it was just like she just like kind of withheld affection from me after the first night for some reason. And
Wow.
so it sort of put me into this loop where like I really wanted to make her happy, and I kept doing everything I could to make her happy, and I just kind of ended up feeling like shit about myself because I just felt like I couldn't make her
Well, yeah,
happy.
because
And
you couldn't meet her impossible demands because she kept basically setting the weird power dynamic precedent of, you know, no matter what you did, it was never going to be enough.
yeah, and so
It's just mind games.
I just, yeah, exactly. So I felt terrible, and when I went home, I had a talk. Well, actually, I ended up telling, after that stay, I actually told her like, listen, I need a break from you for like 2 weeks, because you know, we need like a friendship break, because
Mm-hmm.
you know, the first of all, I felt like she was ruining my relationship,
She was.
and like was kind of, you know, because I felt like she was kind of like exploiting the feelings I was confused about.
Absolutely. She was
And
capitalizing on it and forcing you to basically do things for her.
it was like, and I was like, listen, you know, I need to work on my relationship, and I also, you know, need to step back. I don't want to have these feelings anymore. Like I don't want to
Mm-hmm.
have these feelings for you anymore. Like they're just like they're just kind of, they're just kind of in the way. You know, like I don't want to deal with this anymore. You know, like I just, you know, I just need time away. And so like I spent some time away, and when I got back, she actually, and like we hung out and we had a talk. She actually was upset with me for wanting to take time away for her from her,
Right. Right. Of course, she
because
gets upset at you. So the cycle continues.
she felt like it was an issue I shouldn't have made. Like she felt like it was a non-issue, basically,
Mm-hmm.
was from what she told me.
Invalidation.
Yeah, yeah, basically. And so like I so like with between the invalidation and everything, I basically
Gaslight, gatekeep.
Yeah, gaslight, gatekeep, you know, that whole cycle. You know, she basically was
Mhm.
just gaslighting the shit out of me, you know, doing the hot cold thing, and it was like, and it was still hard for me to deal with those feelings too, you know, because essentially at the time, I mean, to add some more context to it, you
Right.
know, right now I'm in the process of buying a house with my boyfriend.
Which is awesome.
And during this time, you know, it was in the middle of the pandemic,
Yeah.
you know, and I was questioning my sexuality. And I was, you know, I was at, like, I was basically at the doorsteps to marriage. And I wasn't sure if I wanted to commit, you
Yeah.
know, like, cause marriage is like such like a final thing. It's like, you know, if you know, when you get married with, that's like till death do you part, you know, like that's your
Well,
entire life,
that's what they
you
say,
know. So
but
it's like, of course, you know, but
yeah.
like, you know, to me it's like,
Yeah.
to me marriage is very important.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like it's a very important thing to me, and it's like, it's a very important and very serious thing. And I was looking at this and I'm like, do I want to, you know, do I want to commit my life with this person? And I was having a lot of doubts at the time because we were having issues with our relationship. We were having issues with how we communicated to each other and stuff like that. And we worked that all out. And I love him more than anything else in this world, you
Aw.
know. But
Mm-hmm.
um, but it was like during this time she knew about this and was kind of exploiting it. Actually,
Yeah.
she even kept telling me like to break up with him. Like she
Oh
was
my god.
encouraging me to break up with him.
Jesus Christ.
And basically like, and it was weird because it was like whenever I told her, like when I told her I started working things out and I did relationship counseling,
Yeah.
she seemed upset about it.
Of course she was upset about it because she's losing her grasp of control over you.
Yeah. And it was weird because at the time she got a boyfriend. But it was like, even after she got this boyfriend, she was still spending almost all of her time with me.
That's weird.
And yeah, and it was like,
It's not weird when you
it,
think about it, but like it's still weird.
yeah, well, I mean, this boyfriend she dated had a lot of money, because he I guess he apparently like inherited some kind of trust, so he had like a shit ton of money. So I'm kind of, I follow the pattern. I mean, like, you know, hey, guy with a lot of money. I know at the
Yeah,
very
for
least,
sure.
I know at the very least he took her out to some expensive dinners and fucking bought her fucking Genshin Impact currency.
Oh my god.
Listen, listen, those gotcha games. But anyways,
Hmm.
getting off topic.
True.
Um, I during that whole thing, you know, yeah, she was still like wanted to basically spend all of her time with me, and it was just a lot of weirdness, and it basically kind of peaked because this guy she was dating, he's kind of like a, I mean, first of all, she used the shit out of him, and he and I could tell she was using him for attention. And like I literally had like a D&D session with these people, and
Mm-hmm.
like it was like fucking, I had a D&D session with these people, and it was like one of the worst D&D sessions I've ever had because her boyfriend was running it, and
Oof.
basically, so he would favor all of her roles, and like
Mm.
not only that, but it was just like the entire game he would not stop talking about how great her character is, and I'm just
Oh
like,
my
can you like
god.
not stop simping for her?
That's
And
really
then
weird.
and then and then her, so she had a roommate she was really close with,
Yeah.
and she also had a boyfriend,
Sure.
and this boyfriend would buy her anything she wanted,
Oh my
and
god.
she's a huge art commission freak.
Mm-hmm.
She would commission over like $1,000 a month of in
Holy
art.
shit.
Yeah, yeah, fucking shit's more like my fucking rent, dude.
Where do you get
But
$1,000 for art? Like, damn, I won't have that
uh,
kind of disposable income.
boyfriends, and she had really rich parents.
Well, good for
But
her.
essentially, she was really jealous of her. And so like when she got this boyfriend, it was weird. I can only describe it as like simp Beyblades, because it would be like I remember, like, for one thing, they did like a character tier list of their D&D characters, and like they would argue. I remember like they would just argue that like their character wasn't at the top, and
Oh my
literally
God.
they would literally these two couples would argue with each other over like who, and like, or like
No,
she would have the
babe, your
boyfriend.
character should be on
Yeah.
top. No, babe, your character should be on
It's
What?
and it was just really cringy and really uncomfortable.
Very
Because
cringe.
it was like I could tell she was just using her boyfriend to argue with her, or to argue for her, and it was like, I don't know. There was a lot of weirdness to that, and so there was that, and then like it basically like when it peaked was when like, so there's another trans girl on this D&D campaign of mine, and she's very socially awkward, and she has some problems socializing, stuff like that, and this group was particularly harsh to her about it. And the harassment got to the point where they would purposely misgender her.
What the fuck?
And then whenever I would call them out on it, they basically would just tell me, like, listen, we do this because they're not on hormones yet. They made no effort to transition.
What? No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. No.
They basically told me I'm one of the good ones. That's what they told me.
You're one of the good. No.
Yeah, I'm one of the good. Like, I don't know.
All right, where are these people? All right, where are these people?
But like when it hit that point was when I was like, listen,
Jesus Christ,
I can't be friends with you anymore.
No. Yeah.
Like
I'm glad you drew the line finally.
Yeah,
but like,
I drew the line at that because it was just it grossed me out. Like,
yeah, that's extremely transphobic.
I'm like, listen, if you're, because here's the thing, if you're going to misgender someone as an insult to them, what would stop you from doing that to me? Right. Like,
it's just because they like you. You're in their favor right now.
It's weird. It's weird, like gatekeeping. Like I don't understand. Like some people get really weird about like the trans gatekeeping, or like, oh, or they'll say like, oh, this is actual trans and this is not, or whatever. And it's like, God. It's like, what? Like you ain't writing the fucking rule book.
All transitions are valid.
Yeah, all transitions are valid. Like it's not your fucking life. like bro. And so it was just after all that, I like when I cut contact with her, it was like so it definitely was like a Band-Aid. It felt like I ripped a Band-Aid off.
Sure.
And there was like a weight lifted, but also I found I had a void. Like I just felt this huge void where I had space for her. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense because, if you think about it, you literally just like, dramatically, although very much like validly dramatically left of a giant socialization, social group of yours.
Yeah.
Like all of a sudden you had all these friends and now you don't because they're fucking transphobes.
Yeah.
So definitely you're going to be feeling a bit lonely. You're going to feel like you have a void in your life now.
Yeah. And it was like, I guess it was like, I felt like I had to mourn another part of my transition in a sense. Cause it was like, for, I guess the longest part of my transition too, I just had this desire to have a normal life. Like I had this desire for a normal life.
What is normal?
I want it so badly to be friends with these people. And I wanted to move down there and like have a life with these people because I wanted to feel like normal. I wanted to feel like my transition didn't matter, that I was no different, from being cis. Like I felt like in many ways I was running away from my identity. And like just running away from the inevitable that, like, listen, you know, I'm trans, you know, and like when you're transitioning, there's realities to that. And at the end of the day, it's, you know, I gotta accept me for me. Like, I am trans and I am a woman, and there's nothing wrong with that.
No.
And I just
And
want it to be normal.
More to the core point of this, there's nothing wrong with you being you. Because that's what it comes down to, is just that self-hatred of not being okay with yourself and not being okay with your identity.
Like an absolute fuckload of self-hatred.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was really bad. So I had to reconcile with that. I had to accept that, listen, you know, that I can't run away from being trans. This will affect me for the rest of my life. But it doesn't have to be something I hate. It could be something I accept and embrace and
absolutely
love. You know, and also, like, another thing too is, like, I, you know, through this process, I started kind of embracing kind of the more masculine parts of myself. You know, I started, like, embracing, you know, maybe being a little more tomboyish, you know, having like a shorter hairstyle, you know, maybe dressing a little more masculine, you know, like having, like, you know, I would have, like, my common look would be, like, you know, a tank top and, you know, a leather jacket and jeans and stuff like that. Like just having, like, a tough tomboy look. I realized, like, I really like that. And so I started, like, kind of embracing, like, kind of being a tomboy, you know, because another thing is through my transition, and I feel like most trans girls have this phase where like they're, like, super fucking girly, like, just girly,
they go high femme
like,
because they
like,
have, because the compensation kind of thing. But you can also, just saying, like, you can be high femme if you want to be hyper femme. There's nothing wrong 100%. With that. Like, by all means.
Yeah, but it's like both are just as valid. Me expressing myself as a tomboy doesn't make me any less of a woman.
Absolutely.
And realizing that is, like, almost empowering. And, like, it did give me a lot of, like, newfound confidence, you know, and that is something I sort of channel through Ember as a character.
Yeah. Because, like, the follow-up question is that is, like, how does this play into you being a VTuber? Because you're also a very rare VTuber. Well, I feel you're a rare breed of VTuber, where you've done face streams as well before too.
Yeah. I mean, I've done face streams before. Granted, I've only done, like, a handful.
Sure.
But, like, you know, I do them a handful here and there. But it's like I started VTubing. I mean, I actually started shortly after I cut contact, because I wanted to make friends. I wanted to make new friends. 1, 2, I wanted to be creative. And I needed a new creative outlet. And there was also partially some toxicity in the sense of, like, having pride that I was making a character that, you know, that she had no input on, because whenever I made art, she always had to have input on, like, what I made, and, like, you know, just making something without her permission, you know, being and also just, like, making Ember, like, when I initially made Ember, I made her into, like, everything I felt she hated about me, you know. So, like, I sort of designed Ember around, like, almost out of, like, spite, almost. Like, I was like, I was really fucking pissed, and I had to, like, channel it in some way. And I know
honestly,
it was
that's
really
awesome
toxic.
in a way, like, to live out of spite in a way.
Yeah.
Like, fuck you, I am gonna embrace my identity.
Yeah, like, I'm gonna embrace my identity. I'm gonna be who I am, and I'm gonna be unapologetic about it. And
hell yeah.
And since then, I have been unapologetic. I don't apologize to people if they don't understand who I am. You know, I may talk to them and help them understand, but I will never apologize for who I am.
You shouldn't apologize, and to be honest, you don't have an obligation to explain yourself to other people either, as far as your identity goes.
Yeah.
You really don't.
Absolutely. And it was like through this time, I was also kind of working a lot on my self-worth, because my self-worth and self-esteem, it was like after that relationship ended, my self-worth and self-esteem were like at an all-time low. I was depressed all the time. I was crying a lot. I just felt like I hated myself and I hated who I am. And while I felt confident through Ember, for the good half of like my first year, I would always try. I would always try to help other people and like lift up other people, but I
Absolutely.
could never lift up myself. I could never help myself. And that was sort of a pattern that I always had throughout my life. I always wanted to be someone who's like, I want to take care of people. I want to look out for people. I want to be able to take care of my family. But like
I can take care of everyone else, but myself, no, that bitch don't. I can't do that. I need too much help.
and I realized,
but everyone else could totally help them.
I realized I just haven't really been looking after myself. I haven't really been able to grasp what I want out of life, what I want, like what my passion is. Because I felt a lot of emptiness during that time because I didn't really have too much of an identity. I didn't have really many hobbies at all, apart from just playing random video games. Like essentially I kind of had like this big self-esteem issue, and all of my self-worth was in my work. Like I was very, very proud of my business. I was very, very proud of like all the work that was related to that. And there was projects I was involved in before that I was really proud of. I used to work in the music industry. I ran an anime convention. I like did a whole bunch of like really like ambitious projects, and I was so proud of them. But at the same time, I like the second I stepped outside of business, I loathed myself. When I was by myself, I felt like when I was by myself, if I was not working like all the time, I like during my off time, I would just feel terrible. Like I would almost dread the weekends. I would almost dread the weekends where I'm not working, because I would just kind of be alone in my thoughts, and I just felt like I had nothing.
Hello? Are we here? Hello?
I'm here.
Chat, are we here?
Let me check.
One.
I see. Yeah, your stream's up. Waba.
Okay. We got a blip. We got a little brownout. Do we click stop stream, restart stream?
It's live.
Okay.
You're live. You're good.
Okay. I'm watching you.
Good. What did it just like flicker?
Yeah, everything flickered.
Wow. Is it still storming up there?
Is it still storming up here?
I
don't know, honestly.
Huh.
You can text me when stream crashes. I mean, I'll know if stream crashes because everything will just shut down because power.
Yeah.
But sure, that works too.
Because it's a power
Yeah.
It's a power issue. I'll send you all the power. Power!
Yeah, send me your power. Thank you.
Send Waba the power. Power! Like the fucking like meme of like what's that dude from Star Wars fucking shooting lightning out of his hands and shit? It's Emperor Palpatine. Fucking like shooting lightning. Exactly. Cat, send it all. All the power. Oh, but where did we leave off? Do you remember what I was talking about before? I know I was kind of like going off.
No. Void identity. Don't apologize for anyone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So basically,
I was same hatting you because we both are the type of fucking bitches who used to take care of everyone else first before taking care of ourselves, and felt like we couldn't take care of ourselves because, I have too many needs, but other people, I can totally do that. And when you were alone and like off work, you kind of dreaded being alone and off work because it means that you were no longer useful because you couldn't help anyone anymore.
Yes, that's it. That's the perfect segue into it. I was describing how I had, like, how my self-worth was attached to my business, but I didn't make that connection. So Good job. Yeah, because that's exactly where that comes from. Because I feel like I need to make money to take care of people, to, you know, look out for people, to have money aside to help, you know, my boyfriend and take care of my boyfriend and take care of, you know, my dog or whatever the fuck. Like, that's that, you know? And the thing is, like, when I don't have that, it's like I just hate myself. I feel like I'm not useful. I feel like I'm not worth having around. You know? I actually never made that connection. Fuck. Thanks, Waba.
Oh wait, did I accidentally give you an insight?
You did actually.
Oh no, I'm sorry.
I mean, this happened like 5 times last time we talked informally. So
true.
You know, like you're good at like connecting dots. Like I'm just kind of like rattling off,
because like professionally and friend wise, like I've always been good at just being like, you
thought about it this way. Yeah.
You've spelled out the whole entire picture. Consider this segment.
Yeah, but that's where that is, and it was like I had my identity entirely tied to this, and so basically, I ended up having to confront that because at the end of the year last year, I ended up getting kicked out of my apartment, and because I got into an argument with the landlord. I mean, I honestly was just kind of done, but basically he illegally raised the rent. And like he didn't give me proper notice or anything. I sent him the rent check, and then he replied to my email and he was like, "Oh, by the way, rent's now like, you know, this much. So you got to send like an extra $70." And I'm like,
what?
And while he only raised it by like $70 just on principle, I did not want to stay there anymore. I did not want to give him a single cent because this landlord I had, he was abusive. So literally, if I had any complaint about like the house or like if anything was wrong, he would first of all, he would take his sweet ass time taking care of the problem. But 2, he would start harassing me over text messaging.
Oh my
god. He would start insulting me, like I remember one time I was like there was a couple times, cuz basically this landlord, he was very old school, and like he would basically only take checks through the mail. And so sometimes checks get lost in the mail or whatever. And whenever that happened, he would text me and harass me and say like, you know, you like basically it would basically like he would get into rants about how millennials are like ruining the country and how like they're to blame for most of the issues in society.
This is very boomer energy of him.
He's very boomer energy. Like he would go off on these tangents saying like, "Oh, you know, it's because you're a millennial. You know, you millennials like cause these problems and that." And he would go off like,
"Bitch, we caused what problems with what power?"
Like I would get texts from him throughout the day, just like telling me about how horrible of a person I am because of my age. And it was like, God. I mean, I know for sure I could have like filed like some kind of a like harassment complaint or whatever.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to be away from him. Like honestly, I felt unsafe. Like he made me feel unsafe. He made me feel like garbage. Yeah. Because like he would basically tell me like yeah, like I own 60 plus properties, have a big house, and I'm rich, and you're not. So I can
Good
do
for
what I
you.
want. Like literally, that's what he would tell me. And I would just be like, I mean, cool. I mean, you sure don't manage those 60 rental properties properly.
Yeah, no.
You know, like you're still managing them yourself. You could fucking hire someone with the income you get, but you know, I guess you're too much of a stingy asshole. But anyways, I'm gonna start being savage if I keep going. But
Do it.
it was
Be
like,
savage.
but it was like, for context, you know, he illegally raised the rent on me, and I said, I'm not. First of all, I told him straight up, I'm like, this isn't legal. You
No.
haven't given me proper notice of this, first of
Right.
all.
Absolutely.
And second off, I might look into my other options. I might look into other options for living. And so he basically showed up. He showed up at our doorstep the next day with an eviction notice. And he said, "You have 45 days to get out." He's like, "I don't want to deal with you guys anymore. You guys are too much drama." When literally he started half the drama. Like he would basically say that we were the ones that started the drama and that we were the ones that caused all of the trouble for him.
Yeah, that's a bunch of
Because, you know,
bullshit.
how dare I like report like leaks in the house? How dare I report leaks in the roof, leaks in the leaking water heater that was still leaking after it was fixed? Like yeah, like fuck, how dare I? And then it was like, and so during that time, I had 45 days to find another place. And it was very stressful. I mean, you're kind of in a similar spot, but it was really stressful just because I knew I had a landlord who was really aggressive against me, and he would absolutely leverage any like legal or aggressive measures to get me out of there if I couldn't get out in time. You know, so I ended up kind of getting into, unintentionally, because I'm also a real estate agent.
Right.
I got myself into a lease to own contract on a house.
Ooh.
And so basically,
okay.
I found a house that was for rent that I really liked,
Right.
and it was also listed for sale. So I reached out to them, like, listen,
Sure.
like, do you want to sell this to me? Like I can rent it to you, and you sell it, and like they were open to it. So I was like, okay. And so and so basically when that happens, you kind of have to treat it like a home sale as well as a rental. Absolutely. So, you know, you gotta submit the security deposit. You also have to give them like an option fee. And then you also have to pay for inspections. You have to get inspections done. I paid to have a lawyer review all the paperwork. I paid, I had to pay for like, you know, some new appliances and stuff, because you have to cover some of the repairs.
Sure, that makes sense.
So like, you know, covering repairs because you have ownership interest. So, you know, and so when the inspections got done, you know, they found some things, you know, like the like there. I mean, it was kind of weird because the inspector told me like what was like, he was kind of blowing up certain things. Like he was like, yeah, yeah, the roof's totally shot, and like, you know, and he was telling me like the roof was totally shot, and that like he was telling me the basement stairs were gonna collapse, and like he was telling me like and he was telling me that like that I should get a new septic tank, but there was nothing wrong with it, which was actually that I figured out that was like a suggestive measure that inspection companies do. It's just a suggestive measure, but it was like he was telling me all these things, and so I was freaking out. I'm like, oh my god, I'm like, do we still go with this? Because, you know, when you're renting it, when you're doing a lease to own, you have to cover the repairs on the place. So I'm like, oh my god, like what if this happens? What if that happens? And so like, but we had to be out. So I was like, so I was going back and forth on it, and I was thinking of backing out on it. And the thing is, I already signed the lease. So when I told them I was thinking of backing out on it, they came back and told me, oh, we're going to get our lawyers on you if you do that.
Why?
So
they can't do that.
Yeah, so they were going to get their lawyers on me, and then the on my old landlord's side, he wants to get my ass out aggressively. And so, but the thing is, if we didn't have a place to live, I had nowhere to keep my business. because I needed space for inventory and stuff like that.
Right.
So it was like during that time, I felt like I was about to lose everything.
Yeah.
And it was at that time I had to face mentally that like that's when I realized like for sure like okay, my entire self-worth is in my work and my business, and this is not good. Because during that time, I had straight up I had like suicidal tendencies during that time.
Sure.
Like I felt like I just want to die. I like want to die. Like I want a way out of this, and I just want to die. Like and I didn't know who to trust.
That's
I couldn't
suicidal
trust
ideation,
anybody.
by the way. Tendencies are actions.
Okay, all right, yeah, that's a really good way to differentiate. Yeah, that's true.
I just wanted to be clear, like if you also had suicidal
yeah,
intentions. I can't even think
yeah,
the word now.
but it was like I but at the end of the day, my boyfriend and I we made a decision, and I talked to my real estate broker and everything, and we ultimately realized that it's a lot of the issues weren't too bad with the house. We moved into the house, and
Sure.
we even had a roofer look at the roof, and it turns out the previous and actually like when we went to take the keys, the previous owner was there, and he actually walked us through the property and gave us a full history of it. And he actually already replaced half of the roof, so we just have to pay for the other half. And it's just old. It's not even leaking.
Yeah.
So it's just like
oh my god.
So basically, like so basically what
Sounds
the
like the
inspector
inspector
did
that
was,
you had was like just like trying to like get them to like fix everything first.
so
Trying to fuck
no,
them
but
over.
he was essentially doing what's called a cover your ass. So like what a lot of inspectors will do is they will a lot of inspectors, just to be safe and to cure them from liability, when they do an inspection on a home, they will sometimes over-report a problem, and over-report the severity of it, so that way they are held off of any possible liability.
But that seems like fraud.
And sometimes they do this also as a way of convincing the buyer off the sale, because when they go to get another inspection, who do you think they're going to come back to? The person who told them, "Oh, this isn't a good idea." I mean, it's stuff that happens in the real estate industry, but
Sure.
like it's yeah, it's basically I didn't know, like I couldn't trust anybody. So I'm just like, you know what, I already made my bed. We're moving in, and it turned out we actually really love this place, and it turns out honestly most of the things in this house are in way better condition than our old place. So
That's awesome.
Hey.
And it's your house now. I mean, you own it. Like you're paying on for it. Paying the mortgage.
I'm getting a mortgage next year. I'm leasing it, and then the second I get a mortgage, I can go under contract and buy it.
Okay.
But yeah. So but yeah, so we ended up moving in, but it was like during that time I had like a crisis, because I realized, wait, all of my self-worth was in my work. Like what like how do I find self-worth? How do I find purpose?
Your self-worth was in, if I can't help people, then I am not worth anything, and that's not fucking true.
I'm useless.
Obviously. Yeah.
Yeah, then I'm useless.
It's not true, but your brain was fucking certainly telling you that's true, so that's what you believed.
Yeah. Yeah. And so and it was like on top of that, I had a lot of trust issues. I didn't know.
I would have trust issues too after having the kind of friend group that you had.
Friend group and between like the landlord and everything,
right.
I just had a hard time trusting new people, and it was kind of hard too, because like being involved in the VTuber community, because you have a lot of like,
and now we come to the content creation part of the stream.
There's a lot of issues within the VTuber community. There's a lot of the same abusers that I had. and that's not saying that like, oh, that's a majority or whatever, but it's pervasive enough that I see a pattern.
There's in every streamer space that I have encountered, there is a toxic, loud minority is basically what it comes to. Just like in real life, right?
Yeah.
There's a section where there's a lot of toxic folks, or a lot of people that are following a toxic person and carrying out their will, some narcissist, some whatever the fuck you want to call it.
Yeah.
And it stinks up everything else because everyone else then thinks, this is the way to become successful. And then it's like, it's not, because it doesn't work for you because you don't know how to fucking actually do it because you're not a manipulator and they are.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. No, exactly. And it was like, and it was kind of funny because this friend that abused me, she ended up becoming a VTuber basically the same time I did.
I remember you telling me about this.
Yeah, and she ended up like completely blowing up.
Yeah.
And it was like, I remember it like destroyed me because it was just, I felt like I couldn't avoid her. And like I saw her everywhere, and it was just like a very it was kind of a very terrible feeling. And so like it sort of fucked up how like I did content creation for a while, because I felt like I had to be better than her. Like no matter what, I always had to be better than her, because it was like our entire friendship was based on her just like telling me how better she was than me. How better she was at me. She was always better than me at art. She was always prettier than me. She always, like, she was always better at fucking like Final Fantasy 14 than me. Like just like shit like that. And it was just like I just like I always felt like I was less than her.
Right.
And so it was like having like a number tell me that really fucked with me for the longest time. And I felt like, oh, like, and it just really fucked with me.
Yeah. And
so like I just started like doing things that like, and doing content I didn't want to do, but thought like, oh, this category is more popular, so I'm gonna stream in this category, or like
you fell for the trap.
Trend. Yeah, right. I'm gonna do this trend because it's it's popular, or whatever. And
for sure,
I just kind of like,
and you started.
I ended up hating it.
You probably started treating yourself more like a content mill than a person.
Yes. 100%.
Because that's what happens when you go down that route, is you eventually just become a content mill of, well, if I'm not creating content, then I have no worth and everything drops, and then I get sad. So I need to just become the content and farm more content. So I can farm more content, so I can farm more interaction, so I can farm more content.
Yep, basically.
And it's just
and it made me feel like garbage, because it's like, if I had a stream that didn't do well, or if I had like a video that didn't do well, it would affect my mood that day.
For sure.
And like it,
which is kind of ridiculous when you think about it in a way.
Yeah.
What
do you mean by that? Like,
I mean it in a lot of ways. And I say this maybe a little harshly to some folks when I say this, but the thing of the matter is that for a majority of people, this isn't our full-time job. We're not at the point where this is our full-time job. I understand it for both people in this situation, but like when this is your full-time job and you are making like significant enough income for this to be your full-time job and you have nothing else like backing you up, for sure, like there's extra added stress there. But I feel like folks start approaching content creation from the perspective of like, well, I should be succeeding, and this should become my full time in X number of years. Like, it doesn't work like that, really.
Yeah.
It's a big factor of luck and skill combined. And
Absolutely.
the people that you meet and the people that share your, links and whatnot, and who sees that. And that ultimately is what propels someone to like mainstream success in any regards, you know, because there's plenty of funny, hilarious, entertaining affiliates who are streaming to like 0 to 20 people, just arbitrary numbers here. There's plenty of them that are fucking hilarious, even more hilarious than the mainstream folks. But you know what? They're not getting discovered.
Yeah, and you realize it's not their fault.
No.
You know,
the
sometimes
system's built.
What's sad is that sometimes you just don't get picked up, and it's not your fault. You know, like you could be making the right content, you could be, you know, putting in the right titles, doing the whatever, and you could be marketing your ass off, but it's like you're, you know, if you don't blow up, it's not your fault. And it was like,
right.
As a VTuber, I felt like I had this expectation to like fucking hit partner within like the first couple months.
Yes, that's totally realistic.
I mean, it's just, I see it so much in like the VTuber community, like, and especially like
the partner pushes.
Seeing people like started around the same time I did, just like hitting partner or like vastly surpassing me, and like, you know, like having that comparison thing, and it just like, I basically kind of got my self-esteem intertwined into something else entirely, and that was content and numbers, and you know,
and then once again, you're basing your worth off of those numbers and off of how much content you can produce, and it's an awful cycle.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I ended up, you know, around the time I moved to my new house, I ended up taking a really long break from streaming, because I realized that pattern. I realized I just like fucking hated it. And it was like I hated it, but like I knew some part of me wanted to keep going. Like I made like my hiatus announcement post, and like I wasn't sure if I was going to quit or not, but I felt it gave me a lot of introspection, because it took me about like, I think I was on hiatus for maybe like 4 or 5 months.
Sure.
And during that time, I had to reevaluate why I was making content, about my, you know, why I was making content, what I was getting out of it, what I wanted to get out of it, and like what I guess what the purpose of it is.
Yeah.
You know?
And I think you're asking the right question, and this is the biggest piece of advice that I give to folks who want to try out content or try streaming is find your why, and then you'll never be lost, you know, and stick to your why, you know, and there you go. Everything else will follow.
Yeah. And it was like, but basically during that time, I was really reflecting on why I disliked myself so much. Why I, you know, just had to base my self-esteem on what others thought of me, or what, you know, and part of it, you know, like I would always kind of be dwelling over like, well, you know, you know, I was mistreated all the time. I always felt like I was the third wheel. I always felt like I was the unimportant friend. I always felt like I was disposable. And I realized that those friends weren't seeing me as disposable, and the ones I did, I cut out, you know, like that friend group. But like, you know, being seen as like, you know, thinking I thought of myself as disposable. They didn't think of me as disposable.
No,
you know,
I see you as a valuable friend of mine.
Oh, thanks, Waba. And
you're valuable because you're a lovely person to talk to, not for any other reason.
Thank you. I likewise. Like I love these little talks. But but it was like during this time I was really reflecting on that. You know, because I'm like I guess like there was a point where I realized I don't want to be like this. I don't want to rely on other people's validation. Because I guess it was just like, you know, hanging around a group of narcissists. It was like a constant competition to be the center of attention.
Right.
And I sort
the
of
clout
like
chase, right?
Yeah, I sort of ended up putting myself into that because I'm like I kind of want attention too, you know, like I kind of want to be seen as important. You
Yeah,
know,
absolutely.
like
We all want attention in our own way, but
yeah,
competitively never works out well because there's always going to be someone bigger than you who then people flock to because it's a popularity contest, you know?
Yeah, and it's like high school shit, and it's just like
it's just like, well, this is dumb.
yeah, I realize it's dumb.
So,
I'm like, this isn't what I want. This isn't the life I want to live.
Because that's the high school shit I always dealt with. It's just like people being like, oh, a popularity contest. And I'm just like, cool, I'm going to go do my own thing over here. And like everyone knew about me. And I feel like the history is repeating itself. A lot of people know my name, but don't really know me until they come to a stream. And then they're like, oh, they're weird, but kind of cool.
Yeah.
And I'm like, thanks.
And so I guess one thing I noticed during this kind of reflective kind of time was I realized I had I always realized like I had nothing outside my business or outside of my work or providing for other people. And so I had to find some purpose within myself. Something I had to work on something that gave me like personal satisfaction. And I realized this was something I had struggled all my life to find. Cause like I was a big fucking quitter when it came to like hobbies and stuff like that. Like I would pick up like drawing for like a month, and like I'll draw and I'll make all these doodles, and then like I'll hit a wall where like I just start feeling frustrated. Like I'll be like, oh, what? I'm like, I don't understand this. I don't understand how shading works. I don't understand why my line art looks like garbage. And I would look up tutorials and I would just like get tilted. I'm like, I don't understand this. I'm like, why? I'm like, how do these people learn so fast? How does this work? And I was never able to figure it out because I never gave myself the chance to. Because whenever I would hit that wall, I'll just be like, this shit's stupid. I'm like, I'm done with it. Yeah. And so I would put it away. I would put it away for like 6 months, and then try it again 6 months later, and kind of get into that same cycle where like I would hit that wall, and I'm like, I'm done with this.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And that it happened with that. It happened with guitar because I was really interested in picking up guitar, and like, you know, I would learn the basic chords and like, okay, all right, got the basic chords down, you know, cool. And then like I'll try to learn, jump into my first song, and I was trying to learn I was trying to learn Master of Puppets by Metallica.
Oh Jesus Christ!
I fucking love Metallica, dude. Yeah.
Oh my God, what a song.
Yeah, and it was a pretty intense song. I mean, it's kind of intermediate. I wouldn't say it's like really hard to learn, but but it was like, you know, I hit like a snag with that, and my frustration in learning the song, because I'm like I can't even learn one song. I'm like, what's the point of me doing this? And so I ended up kind of putting it away, and I like never really reapproached it again. And so it was like, and then it happened with content creation. And granted, you know, it was kind of like I was stepping away kind of with awareness of like, all right, I need to reflect on this. But it was like I also like had similar stuff with like, you know, because I did cosplaying, I did voice acting, I did like all sorts of things, you know, like I just wanted to, I was just like kind of doing all sorts of things to see what stuck, I guess. And because I guess I had this belief that people have like some kind of innate talent.
Mm.
And I realized that's not true. And it took me like almost like 27 years to find out, but you know, here we are.
Yeah, we're all faking it, and we faked it enough to become a master at it. So
Yeah. And so
or at least
I
pass.
thought and so I thought to myself, I'm
Mhm.
like, so like I thought to myself, well, I thought to myself, I should commit to one thing. You know,
Sure.
let me take one hobby, I'll commit to it. And if I can prove to myself that I can be good at this one thing,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm just gonna break through. I'm just gonna, you know, whatever wall I hit, I'm gonna keep hitting it. I'm gonna break through, whatever. I'm gonna prove to myself that I can be good at this one thing. And if I'm good at this one thing, you know, then I just prove to myself that all of this is bullshit. That everything I've been thinking is bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
Like I basically kind of gave myself a challenge almost.
Hmm.
You know, and so I was kind of like, I took some time where I was like kind of thinking about my hobbies and trying to figure out, okay, you know, which hobby, you know, what I want to commit to. Like I sort of did a pros and cons list of like which ones like I really liked and which ones I really disliked.
For sure.
And or like you know what the pros and cons were. You know, what I got out of it and what I didn't like about it.
Right.
And so I after kind of going through that list, I kind of ended up squaring up on fighting games
Mm-hmm.
because it was something my boyfriend was always into. And to be honest, I was into fighting games for years.
Mm-hmm.
I would always watch, you know, the competitive tournaments, you know, Evo, CEO, stuff like that.
Right.
And I would watch all of these cool players and I'd be like, man, I'm like, that shit's so fucking cool. And I would just kind of like think to myself at the same time, like, oh, like I could never be cool like that. And
But you can.
yeah. And so I would always watch these people and I had, you know, certain fighters I really looked up to, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I really love Ricky Ortiz. I loved watching Razzo play in CEO earlier this year. And I really look up to I'm very fond of Deb/Ramola. I'm just there's a lot I'm very fond of, and honestly there's also a huge queer presence in the fighting game community.
That's
And
awesome.
it's dope. And honestly a lot of those fighters are, you know, are in the trans and LGBT spectrum. And
Mm-hmm.
you know, they were kind of like almost like role models to me because it was like, you know, these people are dealing with the same things I am.
Right.
And they're like fucking killing it in these tournaments. They're like top
Hell yeah.
8ing and like
Fuck
doing
yeah.
very well, you know.
It's
like
amazing.
it was like a source of inspiration for me, you know, like it really was.
Absolutely.
And but it was like, you know, I would do that thing where like I would pick it up and I would hit a barrier and I'm just like, I'm not cut out for this.
Oh my gosh.
You know, I would do that over and over again. And I did that with like all my hobbies. Like I drew, like I was doing drawing for like my entire fucking life. And I'm still, granted, I actually feel like I draw okay. But like
Thank you too.
but it's just like there are some people who are drawing for a shorter time than me that like draw way better. You know?
Sure.
And it's because they knew how to learn. You know, and they
Sure.
knew to break through those barriers. You know, and that's really
it's more than just breaking through those barriers. It's the ability to get back up after you're knocked down. You know,
exactly.
That's who becomes a master at a craft. Is that they take their losses with stride, and they find ways around them, or they turn those weaknesses into strengths, or they just lean more on their strengths. You know.
Yeah, and
Whatever
so
it is.
it was like I wanted to pick up fighting games because it was like, you know, there was all these great people I looked up to in the FGC that and the FGC is such a great community.
Yeah.
You know, it's very supportive. Everyone is there to help each other improve. Like honestly, I was actually a little little anxious at first.
Sure.
Because, you know, when you think like fighting games, you think like really sweaty people who are like
Right, that's what I was saying before.
toxic as fuck, you know,
Mhm.
shit like that, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
But no, it's honestly like one of the most wholesome communities I've had the privilege of being a part of.
That's great.
And you know, I would like interact in like the Guilty Gear Reddit and the subreddit,
Mhm.
and like I actually had a lot of like good feedback, just like
Hell yeah.
talking on there as a beginner, and like I made friends with people. I would send them to my Discord and hang out with them in my Discord and do
Nice.
sets and stuff like that. And it's just it was so nice because I felt like I was making friends again. I felt like I
Do you still feel that way?
Like what?
Do you still feel like you're making friends and it's an awesome community?
Yeah, absolutely. Like I
Yeah.
still feel like I'm making friends.
That's
And
awesome.
and it's just like I feel like I'm having like really good conversations, you know, online and you know, in my Discord and stuff like that, and it's nice, you know.
Mhm.
And
Oh yeah.
and basically like during that time I was trying to, you know, and again it was like I wanted to prove to myself like, oh, you know, if I can get good at this one thing, then everything else is bullshit, right?
Yeah.
And so and going back to like the pros and cons too, is like I wanted to get into it because my boyfriend was really into it too,
Mhm.
and I wanted to have something that him and I could connect with, because
Mm.
it's kind of, you know, because my boyfriend, he's a very like, he plays games very mid-core to hardcore,
Sure.
and I was always a very casual gamer. So
Right.
like him and I never really had a video game to play together. So like so I'm like, oh, you know, if I learn this, then that's something for him and I to play
Hell
and to
yeah.
like bond over and like help the relationship a bit more, you
For
know?
sure.
And so like, you know, I picked, you know, that was that was another reason, and another reason was making friends and building a community, and you know, that I love,
Mhm.
and being involved in the FGC, you know,
Mhm.
there. And also another thing is that there's a lot of like really cool live events, you know, like there's CEO, there's Evo, and like they have like all these, like if you ever watch so Evo is actually next weekend.
Really?
Like
Wow.
yeah, if you it's on, they stream it on Twitch. If you have a
Mhm.
chance to watch it, give it a watch. Like
Sure.
it's so cool how
kind
like
of-
extravagant it is.
Yeah. What kind of games do they feature?
So I know, so I'm gonna be watching Guilty Gear Strive.
Of course.
But I know, I think they have DNF Duel. So I know they are having a tournament for multiverses, that the
Ooh,
fucking
yeah,
like
yeah, the
Warburn
new
thing.
one.
So the fucking prize pool for that game is it has a $100,000 prize pool to the
Jesus.
top, for the top 35.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's huge.
Like whoever's participating in that tournament
All
and
right.
placing is
Time
gonna
to sign
walk back
up.
home with
Let's
some
go.
money. Yeah.
Sign up right now.
Yeah, because the game just came out, so
Yeah, yeah.
everyone's like a
It's a
fucking
beta.
rookie. So honestly, everyone has a pretty good chance.
Let's go.
Like if you're going to Evo, you have no reason
Get some
not
money.
to sign up for the tournament.
Get some money.
But yeah, exactly. But
Oh my god, that's great.
so that one probably is gonna have a shit ton of signups, and I'm gonna be watching multiverses.
Hell yeah.
There's gonna be, I'm sure there's gonna be Street Fighter. You know, Street Fighter 5, of course.
Absolutely.
Trying to think what else.
So,
but there's a whole bunch of games.
yeah. So, point of order. I have to pick up Frankie from work in about half an hour here.
Okay, that's perfect, because I'm just starting to like, you know, hit the conclusion here.
Yeah.
But
Feeling it. We're coming closer to present day.
Exactly, yeah. But it was like, you know, that, you know, there's all these extravagant events around it, and that's stuff that like I could travel to, you know,
Hell yeah.
like I could start going, because I haven't been to a convention since 2019, you know, before the pandemic.
For good reason.
And yeah, absolutely. So it's like being able to go to events again, and having my boyfriend come with me.
Be careful if you go to events. Everyone from TwitchCon's getting COVID.
Yes. Oh yeah.
I'm so
But
mad about that. People aren't
but
wearing
I'm
fucking masks.
but it'll be nice because it'll also be places I can take my boyfriend to. Because like
Sure.
I used to like go to anime conventions a lot, but I would always go alone because my boyfriend wasn't really too much into anime.
Sure.
So I would always go by myself. But now him and I have places to go. We have a game to play together. We have things to talk about with the game and everything, and it's exciting. And so like I'm like, okay, I'm like, this is cool. There's multiple different things I can gain out of this. And then that also kind of applies to my content too, because
Yeah.
now the content I make on fighting games, it's not for clout anymore. It's
No.
out of
It's because
passion.
of fun and passion, and people are gonna
Yeah,
see that passion and be attracted to you and be attracted to your stream, and you're just gonna gain more of a community and more of a following and more of a viewership naturally because of that.
yeah. And,
Yeah.
honestly, people have fucking loved it so far. Like,
Hell
and
yeah.
I've been building a great community. Like, honestly, my community has seen like a pretty solid growth just like from the less than a month I've been back alone. Like I'm very pleasantly surprised, and
That's awesome.
I appreciate the support I've had,
Mm-hmm.
and the people who were there for me, because it was just like I did have some doubts making content in the FGC, because
For
the
sure.
thing is it was like when it comes to hobbies and entering this hobby,
Mm-hmm.
there were I realized I would always gatekeep myself, because I
Mm-hmm.
would tell myself, I'm like, I'm like, I don't know if I'm like that good at like
Oh my
reacting. I don't know
gosh.
if my reaction time's that good. I don't know if I'm like, I can't be good enough for this, or I can't, I
But if
don't
you keep
have this
telling yourself
talent.
that, then you're never going to be good enough for anything. So you might as well fucking try
Exactly.
it anyway.
Exactly. And it's just at the end of the day, what I noticed was if I keep quitting stuff,
Mm-hmm.
what happens eventually is the reason I had my self-esteem as low as I did was because when the more you quit things, the more
Mm-hmm.
you quit things, the more you start to identify as
As a
quitting.
quitter.
You know,
Yeah.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
like you'll just
Absolutely.
kind of say like, well, of course I would
Of
quit
course I'd
that.
quit.
You
I'm a
know,
quitter.
yeah,
I'm a loser. I'm no
yeah, I'm
good
a
at
quitter. I'm a
anything.
loser. And that's not true. And that's not who you are.
Exactly.
And if anyone's in that position, don't do that to yourself. You don't have to live like that.
Nope.
And so that's what I ended up telling myself. I want to have a passion. I want to be good at something. So I'm gonna go ahead and do it, no
Hell
matter
yeah.
how long it takes me,
Be
and
passionate.
another self-limiting factor was I always told myself I was a slow learner, because growing up I I was in an IEP because
Mm-hmm.
they said I was slow, like I was a slow learner or whatever.
Sure.
And one thing I want to change, one thing I want to change, and especially through my content, I want to change the conversation around learning, because
Around what?
people around learning,
Learning. Yeah.
because I don't think slow learners exist. I
Right.
think people have different styles of learning. Have
Absolutely.
you ever heard of David Colby's styles of learning?
No, but I'm about to.
Okay, yeah. So there's a theory. It's called David Colby's styles of learning. So David Colby originally came up with the idea, but it was like adapted and
Oh.
readapted by researchers over the years.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And so basically it breaks down like there's different types of learning. Some people learn better reading, or some people learn better through writing, or whatever. I am what's called a kinesthetic learner. I learn by doing
Doing.
shit.
Same.
Yep. I learn by doing. So when I realized that was when I sort of realized I'm like, I'm not a slow learner at all. I was fed bullshit my entire life
Mm-hmm.
because I can't open up a book and memorize shit. Like all of that I was told growing up was wrong.
Absolutely.
I'm not slow. I'm not stupid, and I was called the R word a lot growing up because
Mm-hmm.
of where I was, and
Thank you.
I took it to heart, because I'm like, because you get these professionals, you get these teachers, you get grown-ups telling you this,
Yeah.
and you're young and
Right.
impressionable, and people are telling you like you're just slow, you're not gonna get this, you're not gonna be as you might not be as successful as other people in life. And that fucked with me pretty deeply. That cut hard. And
Mm-hmm.
when I made that realization, shit just kind of unlocked for me, because I realized
Sure.
I'm not a soul learner. I'm just a different learner.
Yeah.
And that's something I really want to propagate through my content, is I want people to know no one's fucking stupid. You just have a different way of learning. You just have to figure out what that is.
Absolutely.
How do you learn? Figure out how you learn. And that's something I'm learning through fighting games. Like I had to pick a character, specifically a character that has free-flowing combos, because I can only learn by hopping into lab and mixing and matching certain things to see what works. Like I want to change the conversation around learning, because I feel like it should change. And I think that's very, very important. And because I felt like I just limited myself my whole life. And so when I started learning fighting games, and I realized what my learning style was, I started learning fast. I started playing Guilty Gear. I went from so basically how their ranking system works, and granted their ranking system kind of sucks, but basically they have a floor system. So there's floors 1 through 10, and then there's a celestial floor where all the pro players are. So essentially, what you do before you go into your first online match, they have you fight against this AI bot, and this AI bot will assign you to one of these floors. So I was assigned to floor 6, which was like one of the lower floors to be in. And I went from floor 6 to floor 9 in less than 2 months. So that's a lot of progress in 2 months. And I thought of myself as too slow of a learner to even get there. So I already proved to myself this is all bullshit. That challenge I gave myself 2 months ago, I realized that's all bullshit.
Yeah.
You good? You good, Waba?
I'm fine.
Okay. I wasn't sure if you were kind of going quiet. I don't know if you were just letting me pop off or.
No, I'm letting you pop off. Also, Minnie's talking about something else in chat. So.
Oh yeah, does someone have a question?
We're taking questions at the end. I already have a queue.
Okay. All right. Cool. But yeah. So essentially, that kind of leads to where I am now, where I first of all, I have a very healthy content schedule. So
that's awesome.
I basically write up my content. I basically write a script on Wednesday for my content on Friday, and I'll stream my content, and then I'll cut that into videos on Saturday, schedule them to upload throughout the week, and then the cycle repeats on Wednesday.
That's awesome.
It's very balanced. I actually have a very good work, content creation, life balance now, and it's crazy because it's I feel like I'm not doing a lot of work as a creator, but I feel like I'm doing more work than ever, or at least I feel like I'm accomplishing more as a creator than ever. But I'm not working nearly as hard as I did before, and I think it's because I have passion now.
I agree completely.
Yeah. And
it's awesome to see that passion, and I'm really proud of you for all the progress that you have made, and I just want to see you keep fucking pushing that passion, because that's what I try to do every day, is push my passion for trying to help people in mental health, but also, taking care of myself too, and holding myself responsible and holding others responsible for their mental health,
Yeah, and it's just now I feel pretty good about myself. I actually feel good about myself outside of what I do for work. I feel good about myself. I look forward to the weekends now. I look forward to having free time. I look forward to, and I most importantly, I have something to spend more time with my boyfriend on, and even he is starting to get into content creating. Like he's been doing like casting and participating in tournaments and like organizing them and everything, and he's been doing such a good job, and I'm so proud of him because he's been kind of in his shell for most of our relationship, so he's been coming out of his shell through this too. So I guess I've kind of inspired him in a way.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. So it's been very nice, and
That's super awesome.
that sort of leads to where I am today. Like, and I guess through my content I want to basically push that message. And most importantly, I want to put out, and this is something I make clear with my content, is that when you see like content creators in the fighting game community, you always see people who are professionals, like, high end tournament players. And so you always kind of get their perspective. But with my channel, I'm trying to spin things out of the perspective of someone who's new to the game, someone as a beginner. And because I feel like I want to push the discussion that the opinions of someone in the fighting gaming community who might be starting out as a beginner or as a casual are just as important too as those who are, in the professional side of the scene.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
I think that's just that should just be inherent. Like everyone has similar worth.
Like I just basically want to like fucking crush all the gatekeeping that's
fuck yeah.
happened.
Gaslight, gatekeep,
fucking,
girl boss.
Like if you're like totally new to a fighting game and you want to make content on it, like fucking do it.
Do it.
Like just fucking do it. Like don't let anyone tell you that you don't know what you're talking about. Go ahead and try to know what you're talking about. And if you're not 100% there, then you make corrections along the way. Because that's what I've been doing. And
because you're not gonna be perfect. No one's gonna get it right the first time.
Yeah.
You do your best.
Okay. And so, that's that between that and just like reinforcing like, hey, different learning styles exist.
Yeah, and that's how you learn as well.
No one's doomed. No one like fuck what your fucking IEP says about how like, oh, you're not going to be successful in life, or you might not be as successful as other people because of your limitations or whatever. It doesn't fucking matter.
No, it doesn't matter.
There's actually, I want to. This is a good segue because on Sunday I'm going to be interviewing someone who's one of the top 100 Axel mains.
That's awesome.
Axel players. They have cerebral palsy and they play the game one-handed.
Fucking boss, dude.
Like all this stuff's bullshit.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Like that's something you just realize. Like all that talk growing up, like it's bullshit.
It is complete bullshit.
You're fed lies.
You can do anything.
And that's kind of that's the message I want to put out there. And
hell yeah.
I also want to run tournaments and just bring out good vibes and have a great community. And honestly, it's been doing very well so far.
You keep cultivating it, it's gonna happen.
Yeah.
I'm excited for you, honestly. Super excited for you. Just don't forget about us little guys. When you're so big and high and on the mountain. And I know you won't.
No,
that's silly. But yeah.
But you said you had some questions queued up for me.
Yes. So
yeah, I want to read some of these questions.
Okay. It's only 2 so far. I had a question as well. How did you choose your VTuber model, and does any part of it hold any real life significance from Goddess Pool, which is Queenie?
Oh yeah. How did you choose your VTuber, and does any part of it hold? So that's a good question.
They're actually a dragon in real life. I've met them.
Yeah, I'm actually yeah for real. But
they stuck their tail up my ass. It was nice.
But I don't know. So basically, I made it myself. I actually, so this is one I actually had some help on for once. So my one of my art friends, Whimsy, She designed the tail and the wings. So if you notice, I actually went with like a 2.5D look this time. I
Yeah,
have
I
the
see
2D
that.
wings and tail, and then I have the 3D model. And the clothing. So the design for the clothing was done. So part of it I bought from Booth. But another part of it I did myself, and the design for that was helped by another one of my friends, DM Demon, who's another artist friend of mine. And so as far as like how I picked it out, I always loved dragons. Like I was always that person who like I had every single fucking dragonology book. Every single fucking dragonology book. Like you remember the
Hell yeah.
dragonology books?
Nope. No idea what you're fucking
Oh
talking
my
about.
god. Yeah, so like if anyone in chat, gets it, you get it. I had every single fucking dragonology book. I love dragons. I read I was a big book nerd. Like I read a lot of
Ooh.
dragon themed books. Have you ever
That
read
looks cool.
the Aragon series?
Yeah, I've read the
Inherited?
Aragon series. It's
Yes, I fucking
Good
love
shit.
the Aragon
Good shit.
series.
Good shit.
Christopher Pauline is a great author.
Would you say your special interest is dragons?
Oh, I fucking love dragons. I was obsessed with dragons growing up. Like I just so badly wanted dragons to be like a real thing.
Well, you've made them real, haven't you?
I guess so, yeah. I guess so. But it's just I fucking love dragons because it's like they're strong, they're powerful, and they're literally creatures of myth and legend that had stories told of them for thousands of years.
Well, I have surprise news for you.
What?
Trans people are magical and strong and powerful, and legends have been told about them for thousands of years. So.
Really?
Yes. Congratulations, you're a dragon.
Well, that's a very interesting way to look at that. That's true. That's very true.
So it works, right? It works. Totally works.
Yeah, it works. And then again, like I went with sort of a tomboyish look, that's again going down to me embracing like that masculine side or whatever. And yeah, I mean that's sort of where a lot of that comes from. Yeah, it's where some of that choice comes from, at least. But what was the other question?
The other one was, hello, Ember. What makes you proud to be trans?
What makes me proud to be trans? So that's a good question. I think it's just that I'm me. I am me, and there's nothing else like me.
Yes.
And just like it is with you. There's nothing else like you.
There's no one else like Waba.
And going through, and there's nothing else, no one else like Waba. And being trans really is one of the most human experiences you can go through, because you're looking at your core identity as a person. You're looking through, you're reevaluating your core identity as a person. And so it's one of the most beautiful and most human experiences you can have. And I would say it's almost a privilege that, I'm in some ways I'm glad to have gone through this, because I feel like the introspection I've had through this, I would not have had if I didn't transition.
Yeah. That's powerful.
Like, and it's being yourself. Being trans is being yourself in spite of people who tell you it's not right.
Absolutely.
In spite of people who tell you it's not right.
Because being yourself is the most important thing that you can be.
Absolutely. And you also realize that there are people around you who will love you for who you are, no matter who or what you are. Those are the people you need to keep very close to you.
Yeah, absolutely.
All
right. I'm making this a moment, by the way. I don't fucking know how this works, but I've done it. A clip the moment has failed to capture. Try again.
Oh,
Something went wrong.
Moments beta. Yeah.
I tried to make a moment. I don't know if that worked or not.
Yeah, I don't know if they actually rolled it out yet or not, because I checked mine and it didn't.
It said I was in beta. I just tried clicking it.
Yeah.
So if that worked, cool. Everyone click claim your moment badge.
Yeah.
Otherwise, oh well.
Yeah,
But yeah,
but like
this
throughout
is
all this, Waba, have you had any questions for me? I think you said you had one.
I had questions about your background actually. Are these different drawings of you throughout the ages? Like,
Kind of, yeah. I mean, it's mainly fan art. So like
yeah.
I designed like a 3D room for my character, and you know, during my first year of VTubering, I had a lot of fan art, a lot of like commissions and stuff. And
Yeah.
whenever I got a piece of fan art, like, so honestly, like, and this is something like that goes as like almost like a general rule. VTubers, like, if you don't got like subs or bits to give, if you just like draw like fan art, like honestly, like every time I've received a piece of fan art, it's literally made my week and
Fan art
almost
is
brought me to
amazing.
tears.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's
Same.
just like, and it's just having someone literally like, because it's you look at it and you're like, that person took time out of their day and thought
Right?
about me and put it on paper.
So
And it's
awesome.
like, and it's such a profound thing, and
I agree.
that's something I will always be thankful for, and I want to show that. And so I kind of showed it through having my pictures in the background, having those pictures in the
Hell yeah.
background, and having them be a part of the scenery of the stream.
I genuinely love that. It's great.
Yeah.
Good shit, good shit. All right. Not supposed to be everyone like everyone else, am I? Everyone fails at who they are supposed to be, Thor. The measure of a person of a hero is how well they succeed at being who they are. Yes, I love that. I love that quote.
Exactly. That's so true. That's such a good quote.
I'm gonna add that.
That is
All right.
so true.
Oh, actually, the moments badge worked, apparently. I have a tier 1 moments badge. I don't know if that worked or not for anyone else. Claim your moment.
It's a poggers moment.
It's a very poggers moment where Ember says inspirational shit about being yourself.
Yeah.
I just want to say thank you for being on. Thank you for being here. Just thank you for everything that you've done for yourself and talking with us, and yeah, it's fucking amazing.
Yeah, I mean, I've been wanting to do this for a while because I want to share what I've learned, and you know, I feel like in many ways it's kind of a healing experience for me because it's been a really hard year and a half for me, and
Absolutely.
I finally feel like I'm at the end of it, and this has brought some good closure for me.
I'm glad it has, honestly. I'm really glad it has. I think we're gonna wrap it up here, all right?
Yeah, that sounds good.
Have a good night, everyone. Bye, YouTube. And we'll talk to you all later, all right?
Catch you around, y'all.
Bye.